Good evening, everybody. I have to admit, it's actually the first demonstration I've ever done in my life, so I'm basically, shitting myself, you could say. I'm here today to talk about my product. It's called LinguSocial. It's basically a live in-call translation platform, so you can do voice and video calls with machine translation and human interpretation. And let me just open the PowerPoint. So there we go again. The product is called LinguSocial. And like I just said, it's an in-call translation platform. The main features are automatically translated video and voice calls. We do have automatically translated voice calls to any landline or mobile number as well. And there are also cheap international voice calls as well. So you basically, if you know a company like Skype or Reptel, it's pretty much the same feature set, but everything with machine translation and human interpretation as well. So the question is, why interpreting? Normally most people think that if they think about interpreting, it's a niche market, and there's basically plenty of small agencies doing translation for government bodies or large enterprises. But there's actually much more to this. Basically, we're talking about a $33 billion industry, which is actually quite large. The only problem with this industry is it's quite heavily fragmented. So globally, there are around 26,000 agencies providing translation services. And it's very hard for companies to find really good agencies to offer quality translations at a very good price. So it basically means if you're in need of translations, you would have to go through various providers or agencies before you actually find the right match. Most interpreters work as freelancers, which means that they're not really tied to one particular agency, which is good for them. But based on my own personal experience, working as a freelancer is potentially quite unsustainable, depending on the amount of jobs you possibly get and stuff like that. The translation services and interpretation services are mostly used by government offices, hospitals, court offices, and large and small or medium-sized enterprises as well. So basically any kind of business or government body you can think of, they're basically all requiring translation and interpretation services. The platform supports 42 different locales and 28 different languages. Obviously, the best working combinations are obviously the ones with English, Scottish as well, yeah. We have stuff like
Even Glaswegian.
Sorry?
Even Glaswegian.
Kinda, yeah. It's on the list. We offer stuff like Indian English, Australian English, Southern African English. So it's kind of varied. And it's available on the following platforms. It's web, HTML, so you don't have to install or download a Mac app. So you just go to a website, you log in, and you can have video calls, fully machine translated. You can call any landline or mobile number, or from within your browser, without the need to install any plugin, stuff like that, which is very nice and very handy. We have local access numbers in 31 different countries. So in case you're abroad, for example, somebody has to move to Latin America or something, you can call one of these local access numbers for a very cheap price, and you can get translation services, or you can make a cheap international call to, for example, let's say Britain. Then we have the mobile part, which is mostly iOS. Well, basically, it's only iOS, but we provide an app for the iPhone, iPad, and the upcoming Apple Watch as well. We are using, obviously, Couchbase for the database part. We also use Sync Gateway from Couchbase for the synchronization between the mobile clients and the database. We use TalkBox for the actual video call feature. Nuance for it's the company who's behind Siri. You probably know Siri, so yeah, it's the company who's behind the voice recognition. And Twilio, they are a very large communications provider, and they offer an API to automate voice calls and text messaging. Yes, and now it's time to do a demo. So today I'm going to show you the actual phone translation system and the face-to-face conversation feature. I've got my lovely assistant here next to me. He was going to have a chat with me in English to German. And after that, I'm going to show you how to do a fully machine translated video call.
I'm not a plant, I've never met Marcel before, so this is
right. Let me just look up the phone with the speakerphone. Right, so you can see all the stuff we're doing is all real, live, so there might be some embarrassment here, but yeah, we're getting there. Right, I'm just going to call a local access number here in the UK. Does that actually work?
Hello, Marcel Gorham.
So it doesn't work.
Your current balance is
Okay, I'm just gonna keep it up.
For a face-to-face conversation, press 1. To make a translated voice call, press 2. To make an untranslated voice call, press 3.
So I'm just going to press 1 for face-to-face conversation, and now he's asking
This call
me
costs 19 cents
to
per
provide a
minute.
language.
Please say the name of your target language followed by the hash key.
German. Just have to wait a couple of seconds for the actual voice recognition.
To start and finish recording,
Right.
press hash.
And
To switch language,
the only thing you have to do is
press star.
press the hash key to start and finish recording, and if you want to switch the language to say something in German, for example, you just press the start key. Right. Yeah. Please.
Hello, I am in London and I am talking into the future.
That was pretty good. Right. You just have to wait a couple of seconds to make it real.
We need a German to actually tell us if it really works.
Ich bin in London und ich spreche in die Zukunft.
Right. That was actually accurate. I can tell. Right. And now I'm going to say something in German.
Finish recording.
Right.
Deutsch ausgewählt.
Yep. And das freut mich wirklich sehr. Alright. Wait a couple of seconds and hopefully it's doing the magic.
That really pleased.
Really pleased.
Cool.
Yes.
Wiederholen.
So
Drücke die 1.
you can.
Eine SMS mit der Übersetzung.
Sorry
Drücke
again.
die 2.
Hast du Lust, heute Abend ein Bier mit mir zu trinken? Right. I think that's quite international. I should wait a little bit longer. It's the typical example when it doesn't work. Right.
We are sorry. An application
That was
error
perfect.
has occurred.
That was exactly what I was waiting for. Right.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. Right. And now I'm going to show you the actual video call feature. So I'm just going to log into the website. Yeah, it looks pretty much like an iPad app. If you know Facebook Messenger, if you know the Facebook app, it's all kind of familiar for you. You've got your buddy list, so if you go in there, you can have a look at your friends' details, like the country or city or username or whatever. And most important of all, the language they speak. And yeah, you've got your recent section as well, as you can have a look at previous calls, conversations and stuff. And if you go to the dial pad section, you can actually type in any number you want and you can make outbound calls to any landline on a mobile number for a very cheap price. And you can select if you want to have machine translation turned on or disabled. So for example, if I type in 44, it's going to be 2.5 pence per minute to actually make an outbound voice call. We also have a so-called phrasebook, so you can save your favorite translations, and you can reuse them when you're abroad or when you're offline or whatever. And yeah, and you've got the account settings where you can configure your account. And you can also do top-ups as well. Right. I'm going to call my wife now. She speaks Spanish, and I'm going to have a conversation with her in English. Right. Try again. Hello, how are you today? Right, she looks very excited.
Gracias, todo está muy bien.
Thank you, all is fine.
Great. Fantastic. Where are you right now?
Estoy en la cafetería en el campus de Google.
I'm in the cafeteria at the Google campus.
Right. So you can see it kind of works. That is fantastic. We should meet up to have a beer later. Right, it's kind of scripted. Okay. I have to talk about that.
Por supuesto que sí.
Yes, of course.
Great. Awesome. So I see you later.
No, I just wait.
Creo que en 30 minutos.
I think that in 30 minutes.
Cool. Right. See ya. Cool. So that was kind of an embarrassing video call, as you can see. But the great thing about the actual platform is once you're finished with your video call or voice call or whatever it might be, you can actually go into your conversation history and you can see that there's a new entry here saying call and it lasted for 2 minutes. And if you click on the right side icon, you can actually see the whole conversation history. And the great thing about it as well, if you have a face-to-face conversation through the phone translator, you can actually listen to the original audio files as well. So, yeah, so if you're really into learning a new language, this could be actually quite helpful for you.
Yeah, it's a great gift for NSA. You know, NSA, what is the National Security Agency?
Yeah, it's good for them as well. I mean, if they want to.
Does the user have
Yeah.
control over the data?
Sorry?
Does the user have control over
Yes,
the data?
absolutely. So you can delete the messages and they will be physically deleted from the servers as well.
Yeah.
So there's nothing dodgy going on with the NSA here. So yeah, that's basically the phone translation system and the web client. And I think now it's time to move on to the most important part for you, the pricing. No, just kidding. I basically created a little chart explaining how. Oh, that's my wife. Thank you very much. So the actual service is not very expensive at all. It's actually very cheap compared to providers like Skype or Reptel. If you want to call a landline in the UK, we're going to charge 1.7 pence per minute, which compared to, for example, Skype, is very, very cheap because they normally charge a 5.6 pence connection fee on top of the minutely rate. Reptel is definitely the cheapest. But we are kind of in the middle here, which is still very good. If you want to call a mobile number in the UK, we are actually the cheapest. It's only 3.7 pence per minute from within your web browser, or you can call one of the local access numbers. If you look at Reptel, Skype, relatively expensive. But I mean, yeah. Text messaging is not even supported by Reptel. We do for 4.1 pence, which is still cheaper than Skype. And you can do it directly from within your browser. And it's including machine translation as well. And obviously, machine translation is not offered by Skype and Reptel. So we do it for 19p per minute. So if you make a an outbound or a fully machine translated voice call to a landline number UK, it's going to be 21.7 pence per minute. Regarding Timeline, we haven't fully launched yet. We are going to open a public beta by the beginning of May. So if you think that this product is something you would be interested in, then please go to our website and sign up to our newsletter, and we will send you an email once we're ready. The iPhone apps are going to be ready by the beginning of July. And most important of all, we're going to introduce a marketplace for human interpreters where they can sign up to, and you can imagine this as something like Odesk, but for interpreters. And the great thing about it is you've seen everything with machine translation right now, but by the end of Q3 or beginning of Q3, you can basically make a choice if you want to have machine translation, which is going to be very cheap, or human interpreters. So if you have like a serious business case, or if you want to talk serious business with vendors in China or in Latin America or anywhere else, you can basically select a human interpreter for a really affordable price. So yeah, most important question, why Couchbase? The speed, reliability, and scalability is absolutely outstanding. I've been playing around with MongoDB before, and I have to admit that Couchbase is by far the best NoSQL database provider on the market, based on my personal experience. Sync Gateway. Couchbase is the only NoSQL database provider on the market who's offering a synchronization gateway for mobile clients. I mean, any of you who already had the joy of creating such a service will definitely like to use this gateway, because it makes everything much easier and it saves an incredible amount of time as well. And then there's Nickel. It's the SQL query engine from Couchbase. This is an industry first as well. I mean, if you're used to executing serial statements, it's very easy for you, and you can run it on the NoSQL engine, which is very handy. So yeah, based on my experience, I can definitely say that we really love Couchbase. It's a great product, and it saved us a lot of time doing the actual development, and I can't wait to see how the servers are going to perform. We basically use Couchbase Server for the actual data storage. We use the Sync Gateway to synchronize the data between the mobile clients. Between the local access number and the web messaging client, we're using a REST API, which I built myself manually. And everything else in between is either, the voice recognition engine, or OpenTalk with the video engine. It's all in between. But Couchbase Server is definitely the most important bit of the actual infrastructure. Yes? Do you have any questions? Yes?
With regards to the mobile syncing,
Yes.
Do you use WebSockets or something else?
There's WebSockets already integrated into Couchbase Sync. So it's not official, but they're using WebSockets for it. But I'm using an additional WebSocket service for the instant messaging and the actual voice call signaling. So, yeah.
What's the difference between the delays? For example, when you're saying an offer is in English, and you're waiting for translation in German, like between Skype and it looks like the biggest problem right now is the delay.
Exactly. That's my biggest problem at the moment.
So, what's about competition? Why are they?
I mean,
the delay problem.
There's not much I can do. The only thing I can basically try is, basically the way it works is I'm using voice recognition from Nuance, and I'm basically sending an audio file to their server. After that, I'm going to get a transcript of the actual dictation.
I'm just asking what's about competition?
How do you compare?
Sorry?
How do you compare?
Yeah.
Complete. Sorry, I didn't get that.
How do you compare to your
milliseconds or
Right.
seconds.
I have no idea actually, because there's not many people out there who are doing this kind of stuff. I mean, it's only Skype with the translator.
How about the bubble verse?
Bubblewurst.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there yet. There's nothing out there yet. So I know that they've been working on just a normal voice call engine where they could basically connect you with a human translator, but there's nothing in between where we create a transcript, for example. So there's nothing in there.
What kind of technology are you using for voice recognition and translation?
Yeah.
Your own technology or is it third-party?
No, I'm using a third-party provider. I'm using Nuance for the actual voice recognition, and I'm using Google Translate and Bing Translator. So,
Did you try to split the phrase, like not saying the whole
No.
sentence, but just like
I've tried doing that before, but it's not very productive. I mean, if you look at some of the demo videos from Skype Translate, you can actually see that they tried doing something similar, but the problem is it's not very efficient. And what I've decided was that you can either say one sentence in a go, and there's auto recognition built in, so he's going to process each sentence individually, or you can basically do 2 follow-up sentences in a row, but you can do, it's pretty much like authentication, so you can use a comma or dot notation.
well, the basic problem here is like different languages got different structures.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I speak a couple languages, and like, you don't have, like every got a new car. Like in different languages, you're gonna have these words, like in different structures.
Yeah. But the structure it's not really important. It's just really the length, and if you have sentences mixed up together, that's where it becomes more complicated.
What's the minimum networking requirements? Like,
For video calls, it's around 500 kilobit, between 500 and 1 meg. I mean, it depends. I've been working on a group call feature as well, so based on how many clients you're connecting, it demands more bandwidth as well.
How do you decide when to machine translate and when to use a human being?
It's up to the client, and because I'm going to introduce a new pricing tier, the foundation is always going to be the machine translation, which is the cheapest option basically. And then I'm going to introduce 3 different tiers, which could be something like silver, gold, and emerald. And it's really up to the actual skills of the translators, because there are some semi-professional people out there who just do it for fun and they want to earn some money on the side, but they're not really professionally certified. And then you have small agencies who would like to make an extra living out of this, and you have freelancers as well. And basically, once you sign up as a translator on our website, I will then basically go through a small screening process where you can actually verify if people have proper professional credentials or not. So, yeah. Yes?
How do you deal with like inclusion of another language in a conversation? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, if French and German are speaking and they're using these languages.
It's kind of difficult. I mean, that's the problem with machine translation in general. It's you have a set of limits, so it's only good for having like average conversations. If you have like something more serious, like for example a business conversation where you negotiate pricing or something like that, I wouldn't actually recommend using machine translation for it. That's the reason why it's absolutely mandatory for this platform to have human translators as well. So, yeah.
Okay, so that's
So-
a human translator.
Exactly, but I mean, if you're a business somewhere in the UK and you do negotiations with a vendor in China, for example, it's much better for you to have a human translator because they know the in and out.
Probably like solving on the question of the lag and how you would analyze the grammar would be better with a human.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've seen it with Skype Translator. They're basically trying to make it a universal solution, but I personally don't think that is at the stage right now where it potentially could be, or where it's able to basically replace humans. So, yeah, no problem. Yes.
Have you considered doing it without translation?
Like
It
what?
seems that if I had a
Yeah.
service that could record all my calls and produce transcripts of them,
Yeah.
that'd be quite useful. You wouldn't
Absolutely.
take notes on phone calls anymore, you could just search them.
Yes, I mean there are actually services out there who do exactly that.
Yeah, but if you're speaking for half an hour, like after that, reading a half an hour, like it's not a efficient. But if right now the human translation is more efficient than like the machine translating it, do you see like how can you get there where like the computer is better than the human? Like really real time,
I mean, it really depends. I have to admit, I'm not really experienced when it comes to natural language processing. I'm basically just utilizing what's currently on the market. That's what I'm doing because I wanted to have a foundation where people are able to have, or to do communication for a very cheap price. But the main platform is all based around human translators.
Can I just ask one last
Yes,
question?
of course.
Can you tell us a bit more about how you're using NoSQL and which bits using and why and where? So I mean, can you tell us a bit more about the architecture? So where do you when do you go to a NoSQL database and why have you chosen that over something like Postgres or SQLite? Or
I mean, the main reason was the flexibility and the obvious performance increase, which is much better than MySQL. I've been using MySQL for like 10 or 15 years, but the flexibility you gain by using NoSQL is just absolutely incredible.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
Sorry?
I'm 31.
Really?
Yes.
Like you look like so good.
Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks. I mean, I've started quite early. I started developing when I was like 10 years old.
So one last question at the back.
Related to NoSQL actually, so we use NoSQL as well in our company a lot from a kind of technical point of view for the reasons you highlighted. Our data people hate it though because it's kind of alien to them. So I was just wondering how you see kind of the data analysis, the data mining function on top of this.
I mean, that's one of the weakest points by having NoSQL, because for example with other NoSQL providers like MongoDB or Neo4q or whatever it's called, the problem is there's no querying engine built on top of it. But the great thing about Couchbase is you have Nickel, which is basically the SQL replacement for NoSQL databases. And I've been using it in my code already, even though it's not production ready right now. And it's absolutely great because you can use all sorts of SQL queries and you can do statistical analysis and stuff. And it makes life very, very easy. So it's definitely good stuff.
Okay, well thanks very much, Marcel.
Thank you very much.